I forgot our anniversary. Not the way most men forget it, where you remember the day before and scramble. I forgot it completely. I was watching highlights on my phone at the kitchen table and she walked in dressed up. Hair done, the dress I told her I liked 2 years ago. She had a reservation. She had been talking about it for 2 weeks. I looked at her and I said, "Where are you going?" I will never forget her face. It wasn't anger. It was something worse. It was a woman deciding something. She stood there for maybe 5 seconds and then she took off her earrings and put them on the counter and walked into the bedroom and closed the door. I sat at that table for an hour. Her name is Kira. We've been married 5 years. And I want to tell you something about myself that I've never said out loud to anyone except her. I am the kind of man who means well and doesn't follow through. I have been that man my entire adult life. I say the right things. I know the right answers. I know she needs quality time and words of affirmation and intentional effort because she's told me multiple times. I just don't do it. Not because I don't care. Because I tell myself there's always tomorrow and tomorrow turns into 6 months of nothing. That night she didn't yell. She didn't cry. She came out of the bedroom in sweats and made herself tea and sat on the other end of the couch and didn't look at me. I tried to apologize. I said I was sorry, that I had lost track of the date, that we could go this weekend instead. She didn't respond. Not with silence to punish me. More like silence because she was tired of hearing promises from a man who didn't keep them. She went to bed at 9. I sat in the living room and I could feel something shifting. Not like a fight we would get over. Something structural. Like a wall bearing weight it was never supposed to hold. I couldn't sleep. Around midnight I was lying on the couch scrolling my phone and I ended up on one of those threads where men talk about losing their wives. Not to another man. To exhaustion. To the slow drain of being with someone who takes and doesn't put anything back. Every story read the same. She asked. She begged. She went quiet. She left. And the husband sat there wondering what happened, even though she'd been telling him for years. That was me. I was reading about myself. I started something called Stoke that night. I don't even remember exactly how I found it. It was in the results somewhere between the articles and the forums. A 90-day challenge for men. Daily tasks. No excuses. No telling her you're working on it. Just show up and let the change speak. Day 1 was a prayer. Invite God into your marriage. I hadn't prayed about my marriage since the wedding. I knelt on the living room floor at 1 in the morning and I asked God to forgive me for being lazy with the one person who never stopped trying. I asked him to help me be consistent for once. I prayed for Kira by name. That she would give me one more chance even though I didn't deserve it. I got up the next morning and I did something I should have been doing every day. I told her one specific thing I appreciated about her. I said I appreciate that you made a reservation for us and you got dressed up for me and you've been looking forward to it and I wasn't paying attention. Not a blanket apology. A specific acknowledgement of what she had done and what I had missed. She looked at me for a long time. She said, "Okay. That was it." But it was something. The first 2 weeks were the hardest because she didn't believe it. And I don't blame her. I had a pattern. I would mess up, feel bad, overcorrect for a few days, and then slide right back. She knew the cycle. So when I started doing the dishes after dinner every night, she waited. When I started asking how her day was and remembering the names of people she mentioned, she watched. When I sent her a voice message in the middle of a workday just to say I was thinking about her, she listened to it but didn't text back. She was testing whether it would last. Because it never had before. Week 3 I asked her to tell me what's been hardest for her lately. Not about us. About everything. We were in the car driving back from her mother's house and I just asked. She didn't answer right away. She looked out the window and then she said she'd been feeling lonely. In a marriage. In a house with another person. She said she had stopped bringing things to me because it felt like talking to a wall. I didn't defend myself. I just said I hear you. She said, "I've heard that before, Jamal." I said I know. And that I was going to earn it back even if it took the whole year. Week 4 I set up dinner. I cooked. I bought candles, which I had never bought in my life. The woman at the store asked me if they were for a birthday. I said no, for my wife. She said, "How long have you been married?" I said 5 years. She said, "And you're buying dinner candles at your 5? She must be patient." I said you have no idea. That dinner was the first time Kira reached across the table and held my hand in months. She didn't say anything about it. She just did it. I held on. By week 6 something had shifted. Not a dramatic moment. Just a softness that hadn't been there. She started sitting closer on the couch. She started texting me during the day again, random things, the way she used to. She told me about a problem at work and waited to see if I'd follow up the next day. I did. I saw the relief on her face when I brought it up the next morning. She had been testing me and I had passed and she didn't know what to do with that. Around day 50 I told her one thing I admired about her strength. I said I admired that you stayed married to a man who forgot your anniversary and you didn't leave. That you chose to stay in a room with me when you could have walked out and been justified. She started crying. Not sad crying. The kind that happens when something you've been holding finally gets acknowledged. She said, "I almost didn't stay." I said I know. Day 53 the task was to write one intentional commitment. Something specific, something I would promise to do moving forward. I wrote it in a notebook. It said, "I will never make Kara wonder if she matters to me. She will know, every day, because I will show her. Not because she asks. Because it's my job." Day 54 the task was to share it with her. I read it out loud at the kitchen table. She was holding her coffee and her hands were shaking a little. She said, "You wrote that?" I said yes. She said, you meant it? I said yes. She said, don't break it. I finished day 90 on a Sunday morning before church. I woke up early and I prayed. Not the frantic prayer from day one. A grateful one. The kind where you thank God for not letting you destroy the thing he gave you. I took Kara to the rooftop restaurant that weekend. The one Kevin had told me about at the cookout. She wore the dress. The same one from the night I forgot. I told her she was the most beautiful woman in the room and I meant it the way she needed me to mean it. Not a reflex. A choice. She said, is this our anniversary dinner? I said it's 4 months late, but yes. She laughed. Then she said, don't make me wait again. I haven't.